We have a fantastic chat here. Of course, the AI revolution is more than just about technology. It's about rethinking how people and AI can work together, as we've explored in a lot of the sessions that we've heard earlier on. This particular session will explore how companies are transforming their cultures to fully embrace AI, fostering innovation that empowers employees rather than replacing them. I know a big concern for some. So please join me in welcoming to the stage our speakers for this session. We've got Vaughan, CEO of IgniteTech, who will share his insights on driving this transformation. My new friend, we got chatting earlier on, very interesting chap. And leading this conversation is Stephanie Stacey at the Financial Times. She's the FT Tech reporter. Please give them a warm round of applause.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hi, just before we get started, I wanted to remind everyone you can send in questions online because I'm sure the discussion is something that a lot of people have questions about. So to kick off with, I wanted to talk about AI transformation in a workplace and what that really means, because it sometimes feels a bit buzzwordy, but your company is someone that has taken this pretty seriously and quite radically, so I was wondering if you could tell us about that.
Yes, sure. We are living in an age of buzzwords, that's for sure, and it may be worse than ever. It's really hard to say, and transformation is clearly one of them. IgniteTech is an enterprise software company. We're 30 years old, a very large software company with customers all over the world. And about a year and a half ago, really at the start of 2023, it became very obvious that this was more than a transformation. It was an existential threat, and we really came to believe that. I certainly came to believe that. And we decided to go all in every single way we could to not just transform our company, but fundamentally change the way we're helping our customers. And this has to start, in my opinion, and I've shared this with all my fellow CEOs, from the top. It has to be an agenda that the CEO sets, the leaders of any organization sets, and then empowers their people to make this happen. Any other way, I think, makes it a little bit more risky than anybody should want. And when I say existential, I really mean that. People keep asking, what do you see in 3 years or 5 years? And I have to laugh because it's hard to look beyond 6 months. If you just think of where we've come in the last year, I now feel validated for taking what some people have called a rather extreme, radical approach, and I'm happy to talk about that. But I think it's right, because if you don't make this change, if you don't understand how important this is, one of the most, speaker this morning said, one of the most significant shifts in technology in our history. I think there have been 5, literally 5. The internet, the personal computer, the web on top of the internet, the iPhone, or smartphones in our pocket, and now this. And the iPhone was in 2007. So we're now 17 years past the last tectonic shift in technology. It's changing everything we're doing.
One of the big changes you made is you've essentially changed 80% of your workforce. Why did you think that was justified?
Well, we rushed to that statistic really fast. I didn't think it was justified. And to be super clear, let's tell the story. In early of 2023, when we understood how important this was, we interrupted an all-hands meeting that quarter and said, we're not going to have the normal all-hands meeting we talk about. Quarterly goals, what does it look like for this year, where are we in our progress? Instead, we're going to talk about a completely new idea, and that is this concept of a gift to you, our people. The gift was to invest in them. Technology, training, we funded courses, we brought in outside experts, professors from universities, a gentleman named Ethan Mollick, a Wharton MBA professor, is a very leading voice, very active voice in this community right now. And the whole idea was to transform these people in every way. And so we did this on a quarter-by-quarter basis. Each quarter had a new initiative. And part of that, and anybody that's been through any kind of a transformation realizes, this quickly becomes a cultural transformation. And I can't emphasize that enough. What I mean is, you're going to get some people that right off the bat say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I don't like that idea. I'm going to keep doing the same thing I'm doing. And that was fine. That was their option, just not with us. Because you've got to get everybody rowing in the same boat together, right? I mean, I think that's very key. Then we went on and sponsored activities where we literally just measured not performance and not aptitude, but participation, effort. And we made it very clear, painted a chart in that all-hands meeting that said, everyone will get points for your contributions, and if you'll just try, you're fine. If not, there's this basement down here, and anybody in that basement at the end of this quarter will exit the company. Because again, it's important that everybody joins you in this. And we went through several different iterations. Probably one of the most significant was something called AI Mondays, where in the first quarter of this year, we dedicated every single Monday, every single person in the company, the only thing they could do was work on AI projects, AI education, various projects to further their AI knowledge and contributions. Literally, the only exceptions were emergencies for customers. We are a global enterprise software company, so those still happen. That's 20% of our payroll for an entire quarter invested in our people to learn. And so in some of the talks I've given, I've got a slide with the proverbial horse standing in front of the water, and it really is like that. You know, you really can do everything possible, but if people don't want to join you, if people don't buy into the vision, if people don't see it as an existential threat, then you've got choices to make. And our choice was to ultimately replace those people. Because we're a technology company, and we don't have the luxury of waiting on this. In fact, we need to lead our customers, I think, very much forward. So yes, as Stephanie mentioned, at the end of this, after 5 quarters, we had turned over 80% of our team, not reduced our team, turned over our team almost 80%. I'm not happy about that. I am not proud of that. And it's exactly the opposite of what I expected. But if I believe it's an existential threat for our existence, I needed a team that was fully on board and in that same boat.
Did you understand certain elements of resistance? Were there concerns about hallucination from AI or security?
Yes. So the theme of this talk and the theme of every talk I give is about humans and AI. So there's a lot of scary stories that have been happening for 50 years about how the AI is coming for us and it's going to replace people, it's going to replace jobs. It 100% is going to replace people that don't use AI. But I see, first of all, I have a lot of faith in us as humans. I see our opportunity here to really leverage AI as this magnificent tool to help us. We as humans always figure these technology shifts out, even when we're afraid of them. We were afraid of the internet when it came out, 100%. We figured that out. We've harnessed it. Now we couldn't imagine living without it. We're going to see exactly the same thing here. So this idea of humans interacting with it, yes, you've got to very much help people understand that this is assisting you, not replacing you. It's augmenting you. And the fundamental difference comes down to believing that. The new people that we hired that are in these AI innovation specialist roles, as we call them, and we literally hired, when I said we replaced up to about 80%, we recruited people that were called AI innovation specialist domain. So AI innovation specialist finance, AI innovation specialist marketing, AI innovation specialist sales, software engineer, customer support, every walk of life. But the first criteria was, tell us about your AI journey. What does your AI toolkit look like that you would bring?
Can you clarify what makes someone an AI specialist? You're not talking about engineers specifically developing AI? These are people using tools.
Yes. Well, in the very first case, we use this term called AI first. Mm-hmm. And we would bandy that around and we go back to the buzzwords we opened with, right? AI first, what exactly does that mean? Well, I spent, I don't know, a good hour with ChatGPT one day helping to mold what I thought was the definition of AI first, and I published that. And quite literally, it means you think about using AI first for anything you do, literally anything. Give AI a chance. Will it do 100% of the job? Almost certainly not. Does it do 40%? That's an enormous gain. Will it do 60%? Unbelievable, right? So these people want to give AI a chance. The big difference between the people that resisted the change and the people that will resist the change is that they don't believe it. And they'll tell you that. They'll say it in meetings. You know, the AI can't do that. The AI doesn't know the code the way I do. The AI hasn't been talking to customers for the last 15 years.
You now have a sort of all-in on AI workforce. Are there any concrete examples of how that's better, of them being more productive than people who were resistant to using AI?
Yeah, it's always the foundational question. There was even an earlier session about has Gen AI actually delivered on its results. There's varied opinions. Universally, we've got all kinds of cases to cite, things like customer support tickets that are now answered 60% of the time by AI. That's a better customer experience. Customer gets what they want quickly, don't have to escalate and go further. We've got efficiencies in producing quarterly financial reports within hours of the end of the quarter, where it might take days in order to sort through everything to publish that. Those are anecdotal, and I think they're impactful, and they help people to believe. My larger example would be, again, we're a technology company, we're a software company, was we have invented this new technology that we call My Personas, and the premise of My Personas is cloning people, allowing people to make more of them available. It's that old adage, the only thing you can't get more of is time. Well, what if you could? What if you could actually get more time by empowering this digital clone of an SME in your company to be able to answer questions, the same questions that you answer over and over and over again, because people don't read, or you have new people and they want to ask the same questions. Like, think of an HR manager, think of the conference director here at the FT. I mean, I was talking to one of the organizers, just a lot of questions from all of us, over and over again. But to answer your question, that's my proof, because that software was conceived in the beginning of this year. The first line of code was written in March. It's a brand new product from the ground up. And we're delivering it to customers in November. In fact, simultaneous with being here, we're announcing the availability of it. And that was written in 8 months by a team that didn't work for us a year ago. That's my proof.
Well, can I ask then what your advice is? Are you suggesting that everyone should cut 80% of their staff and get new AI-first people?
Well, I certainly wouldn't pick any kind of percentage, and I'm not recommending that anyone cut anybody unless you see obvious efficiencies. What I do recommend is that you 100% make certain that you have alignment in your organization. And I recommend that the alignment starts at the top, but wherever it is, there's alignment. There's fear out there. There's people with heads in the sand and hope that when they pull out of the sand that Gen AI has gone away. You have to make certain that there is alignment, and that has to come, I think, to the top. I have conversations with CEOs of our very large companies, global companies around the world, and I see marked differences between, well, we're dabbling, or we've got a small team that's considering it, and the leaders from the top who have understood that they don't want to get passed by, and they want to make certain that they can be competitive. So whatever that leads to, yes, I think you need to remove people from the organization in any case, whether it's AI or anything, that say, yeah, I'm not going to do that. I'm not on board. I'm not in your boat. I got my own boat over here. I'm rowing the other direction. Don't think that works organizationally.
Do you think your workplace transformation is finished or done? I guess as technology continues to develop, is this like a one-off switch, or are you going to have to do it all over again if there's a further advancement in AI or something completely different?
Well, I don't see the dramatic change, because the team that we have now is hungry, constantly hungry. One of the things we talk about internally is, hey, remember, we are a software company. We have production goals, things that have to be produced and performed for customers. But we're also an R&D lab. Like, we're a 30-year-old enterprise software company with an AI startup that we created inside of it. And I think that gives us an advantage, because as an enterprise software company, we know how to work with customers of all sizes, multinational, global companies, understand their concerns and delivery. But at the same time, when a model comes out, like, our team can't wait to get a hold of it and swap it out in My Personas to see if there's better performance and publish the results. We're inventing things. There's patent pending technology in our software, and it's absolutely remarkable. So I don't see it being ever that dramatic, but it will constantly be a honing. And there's some self-selection that happens. I mean, we have some people that join and say, that's more than I bargained for. I can't. They feel like they can't measure up in some cases, because we do push really hard in terms of making certain that they're learning and contributing. But I don't see it being that radical ever again, no.
And you mentioned that your approach is sort of to try AI first. You want your people to try and see if they can do something that way. Is there anything that you've tried that really didn't work or backfired?
Oh, heavens, yes. I mean, there's just been all kinds of things, but that's part of the process. The gentleman this morning said, we don't mind failure as long as we're always failing forward. I wrote that down. I thought that was a great...
Very motivational.
Yeah, I thought it was a great comment, right? I mean, learn from it, sure. We're trying all kinds of things that aren't working. And, we're bringing it to customers, and customers are saying, yeah, that didn't work. We didn't like that experience, and here's why. So we're learning from it. With our product, My Personas, this idea that you could have digital clones of people. We had originally announced it tied to our product Jive, which is an employee engagement platform. And I announced it in Las Vegas at another AI conference. And right after that, a gentleman grabbed me in the hall and he said, oh, I need this now. And I said, why? Tell me what's going on. I said, I've got 10,000 entry-level workers, and constantly I'm being peppered with questions, the same questions. How do I clock in? How do I clock out? How do I add time? This kind of thing. And he said, when could I get it? I said, well, we've got some work to do. We're looking at third quarter. And he said, that's fine. He said, well, what does it need? I said, well, you'd have to use our Jive product. He said, that's fine. And I said, well, what are you using? He said, SharePoint. Now, this is the first time in my career where a customer said, I will happily throw out that competitive product because I want to use yours. And we realized at that moment, this wasn't about Jive. This was about empowering people. And this idea of this digital clone being able to answer questions, and most importantly, this digital clone is tethered to the human so that if the question is asked and the digital persona cannot answer, it will go contact the human behind that through a mobile app, through email, various methods, and then that human can answer the question. And when they answer the question, not only does it go back to the user who asked it, but it enriches the knowledge of that persona. So the next time that question is asked, it'll be answered directly by the persona. And all of us who get asked questions over and over again, those questions go down over time. Pings start to stop. Wouldn't that be wonderful? I see some nodding heads, yes. I mean, it's a common problem. It's a common problem.
I think I still have quite a lot of questions, but we wanted to make sure there was time for anyone in the audience to ask a question.
Yeah,
sure, so, could you wait for the microphone? It's there. It's coming. Thanks.
Thank you very much. I admire your initiative. So it's so great.
Well, thank you.
I'm just wondering, because I'm a lawyer, and I would like to know a little bit more about, the legal consequences for errors. For example, imagining that your persona will provide wrong information. And also, if you are aware that in Ukraine, for example, they use for a while a kind of spokesperson of the Minister of Foreign Affairs, kind of cloning someone. I don't know if you are aware about this case. They used to provide information. It was like a porte-parole, like a spokesperson at the Minister of Foreign Affairs. So it was in a different context, because I understand that you are going to use it to imagine this model within the framework of enterprises. So I'd be interested more precisely about this legal aspect, if you are aware how you can deal. And if you need a lawyer, please let me know.
Thank you. And we do have a team of lawyers, and they are certainly concerned about this. These are really interesting points. There's so many of them. So let me take your last point first. It is up to whoever we license the software to decide how they're using it and deploying it. So if we license it to a company and they decide to make their HR manager available, or their chief product manager, or their chief counsel available, they've got to draw the parameters around what's used, when's used, and how it's used. So we're not administering that. That's not up to us. It's up to the companies, and that's going to be their responsibility. Now, your first question is the most important thing of the invention. This concept is a concept running around out here. You'll hear it at times. It's called grounding. And, it's the opposite of hallucinations, which we all hear about, right? And by the way, back to effort, if you say that the AI is hallucinating, make sure you did your part. Make sure you did the work. You asked questions. You tried to teach it. Don't say, write an article that sounds like me. But you didn't give it anything. It doesn't know what you sound like. It's always going to help you, right? And so to prevent hallucinations, because you're very right, my persona can't give an incorrect answer. So a great amount of our R&D is in this grounding effort. And grounding means you embody a my persona in a knowledge. And that knowledge sits in front. Some people in the tech industry will understand that's called RAG, right? But it sits in front of the LLM. And it's where it must go for the answer. And our work in grounding is to prevent it from going beyond that to the LLM if it can't find the answer, rather to go to the human owner and say, oh, I don't know the answer to that question. We've got it running out in the hall. You can ask it, what dates are this conference? But if you ask it if there was salmon for lunch, it won't know, and it will go, ask me, was there salmon for lunch? Was there salmon for lunch, by the way?
I think there was, yeah.
How about that? Okay, right. And so I would answer that question, and it would update. But the grounding's important, and we're in the 90s, upper 80s, 90 percentile of grounding. Anybody understands that technology, we're way ahead of a lot of others in this particular area.
Should we try and squeeze in another question? We've got about 45 seconds. If anyone can say it quickly, there's one back there.
Hi, my name's Tristan from Demos AI. Eric, thank you for sharing your journey. It's a similar question, but in the reverse in terms of how you've done this in your business. You said you were recruiting AI-first staff, and that was what the churn was. What controls do you have in place? What policies and processes do you have to make sure that when those team members are using AI for those processes, that they are checking their own homework?
That they're, I'm sorry, the last part, checking
their own homework, checking the AI's homework, making sure that they're not being lazy by just taking the output and saying, oh yeah, that looks great, here we go. Yeah, great.
It leads me back. We have a different kind of org now than we used to have. We had traditional line managers, we had a traditional org, we had a finance org, a marketing org, a sales org. We now have an AI innovation org that's headed up by our product officer, who is a PhD rocket scientist, literally a rocket scientist before he came and joined us. Everyone in the AI team, whether they're finance or marketing or sales, reports into that AI team for best practices, for making certain that people are reined in and following those practices. So the line manager, say the VP of finance, says, here's what I need done. But our AI team says how it's going to be done. And that, I'm glad you asked that, because I think that's a key organizational principle that's kind of new and unusual. Most people don't have that. We literally have dotted lines to the business and solid line reporting to our AI innovation team.
I think we sadly have to wrap up because the timer is flashing red at us on stage. But thank you so much, Eric, for a great discussion.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thanks.